What goes out of you comes back to you. If you radiate anger, you live in a world on fire. If you radiate fear, the shadows lengthen around every corner. And if you radiate curiosity, suddenly the world blooms with mystery. Now that may sound terribly simple, too simple in fact, for our clever little minds. We want life to be complex, mechanical, hidden behind thick manuals, riddles and conditions. But it isn't. It is this, the echo. When you shout into a canyon, you hear your own voice returning. Not quite the same, not quite different, but undoubtedly you. And you may forget that you were the caller when the echo arrives. You might even think, oh my, who is this strange voice speaking to me from across the valley? And so it is with life. You see, the things you meet on the road, the characters who stroll into your play, the moods that fall upon you at dawn or haunt you at midnight, these are not strangers. They are the echo of your own vibration. But here comes the paradox, one that delights me greatly. This does not mean you are the little ego in charge. No, no, no. Don't mistake me here. For the ego loves nothing more than to inflate itself into a god. To say, aha, if all that happens to me is my doing, then I am the ruler of destiny, the master of fate. But that is like the child gripping a toy steering wheel in the back seat, proudly declaring, I am driving the car. You know this game. You've played it. Every child has. And the wonderful joke is that while they pretend, the car keeps moving. And the parents glance back and smile, letting them believe they've got it all under control. That is the ego. Now this what goes out comes back is not punishment. It is not a cosmic judge shaking his finger at you saying you were angry. So now here's a taste of anger. No, that's too moralistic, too heavy-handed. It is simply the nature of things. If you strike a bell, you get a sound. If you throw a pebble in the pond, ripples spread. The bell doesn't punish you for hitting it, nor does the pond lecture you about water etiquette. It just resounds, it just reflects. So when you radiate bitterness, you are struck by the taste of bitterness, not because someone is punishing you, but because bitterness is the very flavor of the energy you've cast into the air. And when you radiate joy, oh, the world shimmers back with joy, not instantly, not always predictably, but with the uncanny sense that the stage of life is attuned to your song. Now let me deepen this, because we have plenty of time. Sit with me here. Have you noticed how people who are perpetually anxious always seem to encounter situations that confirm their fear? They step into the world as if surrounded by traps, and lo and behold, the world appears full of traps. Their eyes are radar-tuned to danger. Their breath is shallow, their movements quick, and the universe obliges them by offering echoes of unease. It is not that danger wasn't always present, but that their own fear becomes the lens through which the entire panorama is cast. And have you not also noticed how certain individuals, no matter the circumstance, exude a strange ease? The house may burn, the storm may rage, the bank may call, but they have about them a quality of trust, almost mischievous. And curiously, even in chaos, life seems to unfold in their favor, not because the storm spares them, but because they do not resist its dance. Now here is the whispered secret. You are not standing outside the world, throwing pebbles into its pond. You are the pond. You are the ripples. You are both the shout and the echo. And therefore, everything that returns to you was never really apart from you at all. This is why karma, misunderstood as cosmic bookkeeping, is better understood as a mirror. You do not punish a mirror for reflecting a scowl, nor do you praise it for reflecting a smile. It simply shows you your own face. But how often we argue with the mirror. We demand that it smile before we do. We glare at it, waiting for it to warm first. And the mirror, ever obedient, continues to frown. Until one day, you laugh, and there it is. The reflection shifts. So the question is not, how do I manipulate the mirror? The question is, do I see that it is me? Now, this can be unsettling, because it means that everything you thought was happening to you has in some sense been you all along. The friend who betrayed you, the lover who left, the fortune that slipped away, the illness that came uninvited, all of them are threads woven into the same tapestry, the tapestry that you are. Does that mean you consciously chose them? Here the ego again tries to snatch the crown. No, it doesn't mean that. The ego is far too small, far too brittle to hold such vastness. It's like blaming the wave for the movement of the entire sea. Instead, it means that life and you are inseparable. Two sides of the same coin. The snake slithering, its belly and back moving together, inseparably. The universe whispering to itself through your particular voice, your particular ache, your particular dream. And so, what goes out of you comes back. Not as a punishment, not as a prize, but as a reminder, you and the world are not two. This realization, this laughter, is the first step in our journey. Because when you truly see that you were never separate from the river, you no longer fight it. You float. You may paddle. You may splash. You may swirl around in little eddies, but you are carried nonetheless. Life, then, is not a problem to solve. It is not a Rubik's Cube to twist into perfection. Life is a dance, a melody, a banquet. And you, my dear, were invited from the very beginning. What goes out of you always comes back. But here is where the story twists, because the one who insists they are in charge, the little I, is not the one calling the shots. We like to imagine ourselves as a solid self, a captain at the wheel, a thinker behind the thoughts, a chooser behind the choices. But when you look closely, when you really stare into the mirror of awareness, you notice something peculiar. That self is slippery, elusive, a mirage shimmering on the desert floor. Try to pin it down, and it vanishes. Think of your name. That's the label society gave you. Long before you could even speak. Your face shaped by genes you did not choose. Your thoughts rising like bubbles in a glass of soda, fizzing up without permission. Even your desires, those sacred urges you call mine, are echoes of things you've seen, heard, absorbed from the vast soup of existence. So, tell me, where is this I you defend so desperately? The ego is not an enemy. It is not evil. It is simply a useful trick, a social mask, a kind of role you play, the way an actor becomes Hamlet or Cleopatra. Without the role, the play cannot go on. But here's the trouble. Somewhere along the line, you began to believe the role was you. You see, the ego is like a shadow puppet. It looks solid on the wall, but if you turn around, you realize it was only the play of hands and light. And yet people cling to the shadow, fighting to defend its dignity, terrified of losing its outline. This clinging is where suffering blooms, because the ego, by its very nature, feels incomplete. It is haunted by a sense of lack, like a beggar clutching coins, always looking over his shoulder, convinced there isn't enough. Enough love, enough money, enough time, enough approval. And so out of this phantom sense of incompleteness, we throw endless desires into the world, some harmless, some destructive. We radiate out hunger, anxiety, control, fear, and lo and behold, the echo returns. The world becomes a mirror of our unrest. This is why so many live in quiet frustration. They believe they are chasing happiness, but they are actually chasing their own reflection. The more they pursue it, the further it recedes. Like running toward the horizon, no matter how fast you go, it will never get closer. The irony, of course, is that the thing they seek was never missing. The completeness was always there, beneath the mirage of me. Think of it like this. Imagine standing at the seashore, watching the waves. Each wave rises, crests, falls, and disappears back into the sea. Now suppose one wave insists, I am separate, I must preserve myself. I must rise higher, last longer, be greater than the others. That wave is the ego. But whether it admits it or not, it is the ocean. Its destiny was never in question. When you recognize this, when you see that the ego's game is built on an illusion, something loosens. You begin to laugh at the sheer absurdity of it. The laughter is important, because without laughter, philosophy hardens into dogma, and spirituality becomes another ego trip. But laughter cuts through the seriousness of the me. It is the sound of the mirage dissolving. Now you might ask, if the ego is a mirage, why do we need it at all? Because the play requires a character. Life, after all, is not a sterile void, but a drama, a dance, a theater. You cannot dance without form. You cannot play music without notes. The ego provides the costume, the melody line, the temporary mask, and masks, when worn consciously, are not lies but art. The problem is not the ego itself. The problem is forgetting it's a mask, believing it to be the face. And in that forgetfulness, the echo becomes distorted. Because whatever you project from the mask, fear, control, division, the world mirrors back to you with equal force. This is why people so often feel trapped by their own lives, not because the universe is cruel, but because they are sending out signals they don't realize they're broadcasting. Like a radio accidentally tuned to static, and then complaining that the music never plays. To see through the mirage of ego is not to destroy it. It is simply to smile at it, to recognize it as a costume you wear in the great masquerade of existence. Once you see this, the echo changes. No longer the harsh reverberation of fear, but the gentle rhythm of play. You stop throwing anger into the canyon and wondering why thunder returns. You stop radiating lack and being surprised when scarcity surrounds you. Instead, you let curiosity, wonder, and even surrender ripple outward, and what comes back is a world alive with mystery. Here is the secret of the ego. You never had to fight it. You only had to see it. And in the seeing, the mirage no longer fools you. You can walk through it, smiling, knowing that behind every mask, every shadow, every echo is the ocean itself. Remember, the ego is the dreamer's dream, necessary for the play, but not the whole of you. And when the dream loosens, when the costume is seen for what it is, you are free, free to laugh, free to dance, free to listen to the echo without fear. A hand clenched tight, the knuckles white, the tendons straining, the nails biting into the palm. That is the image of how most people live. Always holding on to control, to certainty, to an identity, to the belief that if they just keep squeezing tighter, they can keep it all together. But what happens to a hand that never opens? It cannot receive, it cannot feel, it cannot hold anything new, because it is too busy gripping what it already clutches. This is the tragedy of the human condition. We clench at life, mistaking tension for strength. We cling to possessions, afraid of losing them. We cling to relationships, afraid of being abandoned. We cling to beliefs, afraid of being wrong. And perhaps most of all, we cling to the idea of who we are, afraid of dissolving into the unknown. But here is the paradox. The harder you cling, the more life slips through your fingers, like trying to hold water in a fist. The tighter you squeeze, the less remains. When you unclench, when you allow the hand to open, something astonishing happens. Life flows in. The same water that escaped your grip now rests gently in your palm. What you once tried to control through force is now given freely through trust. This is not weakness. It is not surrender in the sense of defeat. It is a different kind of strength, the strength of openness, the courage to release. Imagine carrying a heavy stone. At first it feels manageable, but as time passes, your muscles ache, your arms burn, your breath shortens, and still you tell yourself, I must keep carrying it. If I let go, I fail. But what if the only failure was refusing to release the burden? What if strength was not measured by how long you can hold on, but by how gracefully you can put it down? The world is filled with clenched fists, nations clinging to borders, corporations clinging to profit, individuals clinging to pride, and all of it is fear. Fear dressed up as power, fear disguised as stability. But fear, no matter how loud it roars, is always brittle. One crack and it shatters. To unclench the fist is to see through this brittleness. It is to realize that security has never been about grip, but about flow. Think of a tree in the storm. The rigid branches snap, but the flexible ones bend. Flexibility is not weakness, it is survival. In the same way, a person who can open, adapt, release is not fragile but unbreakable. Here's the subtle shift. The ego believes that if it lets go, everything will fall apart. But when you truly let go, what falls away is only the illusion. The real remains. The deeper self, the ocean beneath the wave, is untouched. In fact, it is revealed most clearly when the fist opens. But let us be honest, unclenching is terrifying. It feels like stepping off a cliff. It feels like death, because in a sense it is a death. The death of certainty, the death of control, the death of me as a fixed permanent thing. Yet every death in nature is also a doorway. The seed must crack for the sprout to emerge. The caterpillar must dissolve for the butterfly to take wing. The wave must collapse to reveal it was the ocean all along. To unclench the fist is to trust this process, to believe without proof that letting go will not destroy you, but transform you. Now here is where the echo returns. A clenched fist sends out tension, and the world echoes back with resistance. An open hand sends out trust, and the world responds with possibility. What you give, you receive. What you radiate returns. The canyon does not lie. It simply reflects. So ask yourself, what is it you keep clutching? What story? What identity? What fear? And what would happen if, just for a moment, you opened your hand? You see, the art of unclenching is not a one-time act. It is a rhythm. Like breathing. Inhale, the fist closes, it gathers, it holds. Exhale, the hand opens, it releases, it gives. Both are necessary. Holding is not wrong. Clenching is not evil. But to forget to release, to live only in the grasp, is to suffocate. Life itself is the rhythm of clenching and unclenching. The heart contracts, then relaxes. The lungs fill, then empty. The tides rise, then fall. Day gives way to night, and night to day. All existence dances in this rhythm. To cling endlessly is to step out of the dance, to resist the music of being. So, unclenching the fist is not about abandoning responsibility or withdrawing from life. It is about learning the rhythm, to hold when it is time to hold, and to release when it is time to release, to stop mistaking grasping for living. Here's the final truth. When the fist opens, what you discover was never really yours to begin with. Life does not belong to you. You belong to life. And in that belonging, there is a freedom greater than any illusion of control, because the open hand is not empty. It holds everything. Unclenching is not the end. It is the beginning. A beginning that takes us deeper into the mystery of what it means to live without fear, without clinging, without illusion. There comes a moment, after the echo has taught us reflection, after the fist has taught us release, when something entirely new emerges. It is not a concept, not an idea, not even a feeling. It is an opening, like a curtain, drawn back to reveal a sky that was there all along, only hidden by fabric. This is what I call the final revelation, the realization that you were never separate from life to begin with. For so long, we have imagined ourselves as isolated. A mind trapped inside a body, a self trapped inside a world, a wave cut off from the ocean. That illusion fuels the clenching. That illusion fuels the desperate echo. But when the curtain falls away, you see with clarity there was never a you in the way you thought. There was only life itself, moving through this temporary form, breathing, speaking, learning. It is not that you disappear. It is that you are seen in context. The drop remembers it is water. The flame remembers it is fire. The self remembers it is being. And here's the strange part. Nothing actually changes. The world still spins. The body still hungers. The heart still aches. But the relationship to it all is transformed. Suffering, which once felt like a punishment, is seen as part of the dance. Joy, which once felt like a reward, is seen as part of the same rhythm. Gain and loss, success and failure, birth and death, all of it belongs. All of it is included. This revelation does not hand you certainty. It does not give you control. But it gives something greater, peace with not knowing, comfort in uncertainty, the ability to stand in the middle of the storm and realize the storm is not against you, nor is it for you. It simply is. And that realization changes everything. Think of it like this. Most of us go through life as if we are actors on a stage, desperate to control the script, desperate to make the audience cheer. We fight, we suffer, we grasp, believing the play is about us. But then, in a flash, you realize you are not only the actor, you are also the stage. You are the light, you are the audience, you are the entire theater. How could you ever be small when you are the whole of it? This is the revelation that silence tries to whisper, but words often drown out. That life is not happening to you, it is happening as you. The ego resists this truth because it means it is not the master. It means the story is not about protecting the little me at all costs. But when the ego loosens, when the fist unclenches, when the echo fades, what remains is a vastness that cannot be threatened. You begin to see that death, the thing we fear most, is not the end, but another unfolding. The wave collapsing back into the sea, the flame returning to the fire. Nothing is lost. Nothing could ever be lost. And so the desperate struggle begins to dissolve. You no longer need to grasp because you see there was nothing to lose. You no longer need to demand because you see you already are what you seek. You no longer need to fear silence because in the silence you finally recognize yourself. Let me ask you, what does freedom look like? If not this, not freedom from responsibility, not freedom from pain, but freedom from illusion, freedom from the lie that you are separate, fragile, doomed. The final revelation is not about escaping life. It is about finally entering it, fully, without resistance. It is about walking through the world with open hands, hearing the echoes without fear, and allowing everything to rise and fall in its time. And from this place, something unexpected arises, compassion. Because once you see that you are not separate, how can you not feel the suffering of others as your own? How can you not recognize that every clenched fist, every desperate cry, every echo in the canyon is life itself struggling to remember what it already is? Compassion is not pity. It is not superiority. It is resonance. It is the recognition that the same ocean moves through every wave. And so the final revelation gives rise to a new way of living, a way that is lighter, but not detached, a way that is engaged, but not consumed. You act, but without desperation. You give, but without depletion. You love, but without fear of loss. This is what it means to live awake, to live as one who remembers. But let me be clear, this is not a destination. It is not the prize at the end of the road. It is the road itself, unfolding moment by moment. You will forget, you will fall back into the old illusions. You will find yourself clenching again, echoing again, fearing again. That is part of the rhythm too. The difference is, once you have glimpsed the truth, you cannot be fooled in the same way. Even in the grip of fear, some part of you remembers, this too is passing, this too belongs. This too is the ocean moving as a wave. And that memory is enough. Enough to soften, enough to open, enough to live with a little more grace. So what is the revelation at the end of the canyon? It is this: you were never alone. You were never just the fist. You were never only the echo, or the voice, or the silence. You were always more. The echo, the canyon, the voice, the silence, the wave, the ocean, not separate, not scattered, but woven. And when you see that, when you live from that, something begins to change. The struggle loosens its grip. Life stops being only a canyon of effort and reply and begins to reveal something else, a wider invitation, a gathering place, a table you didn't know was waiting for you. Imagine, for just a moment, that life is a grand feast. Not the sort of feast where people arrive with scorecards, tallying who got the largest slice of cake or who sat nearest to the host. No, this is a banquet in the old sense, a gathering of souls where laughter and music ripple through the air and the food seems endless because no one clings to it. At this table, there are no reserved seats. Kings sit beside beggars, scholars beside children, saints beside tricksters. And the astonishing thing, everyone is welcomed, as if the banquet had been waiting for them all along. No one asks, do you deserve to be here? The very fact that you exist is your invitation. Think of how strange that is. From the very beginning of our lives, we are taught that we must earn our place, earn love, earn respect, earn approval. But at the banquet of existence, there is nothing to earn. You arrive, and immediately the feast rearranges itself to make room for you. It is not charity. It is not tolerance. It is recognition that your presence is woven into the pattern of the whole. Now, some arrive at this table clutching their egos like a tightly sealed lunchbox. They are suspicious. They guard their portion. They whisper, what if the food runs out? What if someone takes more than me? And yet slowly, inevitably, they notice the truth. The feast is inexhaustible. The more it is shared, the more abundant it becomes. Just as a joke only ripens when it is told, or music only exists when it is played, the feast of life multiplies by being given away. And here's the secret delight. Once you stop clutching, once you put down the lunchbox and reach for the shared platter, you discover flavors you never knew existed, a sweetness you could never manufacture alone, a spice that stings and awakens the senses. Even bitterness has its place, for without it, the wine would be flat. The whole spectrum of taste is needed to make the banquet real. But notice something else. No one stays at the banquet forever. Every guest, at some point, gets up, bows out, and vanishes into the night. This used to terrify me, the idea that death would snatch away the joy just as I'd begun to taste it. Yet look carefully. The banquet only makes sense because it ends. Imagine a meal that never stopped, music that never resolved, a joke that never concluded. Without the ending, the experience collapses into monotony. It is the leaving that makes the arriving sweet. It is the last sip that makes the wine precious. So when you rise from the table, you do not leave empty-handed. You carry with you the laughter, the warmth, the shimmering taste of connection. And you realize, perhaps with astonishment, that you yourself had been part of the feast all along. You were not only a guest, you were one of the courses, one of the songs, one of the reasons the banquet sparkled. And now, the final paradox. We spend our lives worrying about whether we are enough. But at the banquet, you see, you were the enough. You were the spice, the sweetness, the harmony that completed the song. The world did not ask you to justify your seat. It asked you simply to join in, to laugh when the story was funny, to cry when the story was sad, and to dance while the music played. So let this be the closing toast. To you, to me, to everyone who has ever stumbled into this strange, radiant gathering called life. To the bitterness that sharpens the sweet, to the tears that water the laughter, to the shadows that make the light blaze more brightly, and most of all, to the astonishing fact that any of this exists at all. Raise your glass, take your seat. The banquet is here, and so are you.